sure you guys listen to Damn, right?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Now, here's what's interesting. Like, Brandon, I want to see where you fall on this.
Okay.
Because for years, as long as I've known Hollywood Kas, we've had opposing views on Kendrick. For
Always.
years. He doesn't like Kendrick.
See,
Go explain.
Let me explain. I love Overly Dedicated. I love Section 80. I think Good Kid, Mad City is cool, and I hate it To Pimp a Butterfly. That's not an overall hate of the guy.
Now, I must interject here.
Okay.
Did you hate To Pimp a Butterfly solely because of how thick of a record it is? I think that record is a chore to get through because it is so layered and it is so heavy.
Definitely, that's a part of it.
Okay.
It's not, but it's not that it's not like one of those things where like I couldn't fathom the depth of it. It's some of the shit I've always told him. Some of my Kendrick issues is respectability politics when talking about black issues.
Oh. So the Black of the Berry really kind of like
exactly
caught you.
It's funny those types of. So it's almost like Kendrick for the longest. My biggest problem with Kendrick is I've always felt like artists who are supposedly pushing the ball or have the crown have always to some degree upset people or rub people the wrong way because they took a solid stance on something. I felt like Kendrick is the exact opposite. Everybody kind of loves him because he doesn't take a stance. Mm-hmm. He'll give you control, he'll diss everybody and then say everybody's his nigga. He'll give you Black of the Berry and go in on white culture and then take it all back by saying that we need to respect ourselves before we can be respected. I've seen Kendrick do that so many times with something as heavy as a black album. I like albums like Nigga, like Nas's Nigga. I like albums that take a hard stance. Whereas that album just wasn't for me. It didn't take a hard stance, and it's also so esoteric in its nature. When you talk about black people, I almost don't want you to be esoteric. I want you to get to the meat of it. If that's fair to say. You know what I mean?
It's very fair to say. I think that what I gathered from To Pimp a Butterfly in its whole was that it's Kendrick doing his best to make one wild-ass jazz album, but he uses jazz as a template, really, to describe, what's going on in his mind, because it's Kendrick versus fame. Kendrick being hoisted up to this point in life to which people think he's the voice of a generation. He speaks to black issues. He does this, he does that. It almost goes to an article I wrote a couple weeks ago.
Shameless plug.
And thank you very much. I mean, you got a journalist on here. If a journalist does not talk about his work, then is he really a journalist?
No.
Exactly. So, and I argued that Kendrick Lamar makes important music. And what I mean by that is Kendrick Lamar, unlike, say, Drake or J. Cole, people in his perceived weight class, they make music and you dissect it for a little bit and then you just let it go. Kendrick, you get thesis papers, think pieces, every little thing, every little thread from a Kendrick album or a song or a video, whatever he commits to audio or recorded film, it gets pulled out and taken to so many different levels in so many different ways. And what I saw in To Pimp a Butterfly was that this is somebody who is so caught up, not necessarily in fame, but the pressures of it. And the pressures of this new position that he has, that his mind is all over the place. Like, we're talking like on a global sense of like, wait, this is no longer Compton. This is the world. Yeah. And the whole world is looking at me like, yo, do something. You're bigger than the world.
I also kind of felt like he made To Pimp a Butterfly kind of out of necessity. Like, a lot of people were expecting him to make an album like Damn right after Good Kid, Mad City. Yeah. Which is why a lot of people got probably upset with him. I saw it divide his fan base. I saw To Pimp a Butterfly literally divide his fan base. Yeah. But I felt like that's something he needed to get off his chest. That's something he needed to get out of his heart.
Definitely.
And so I feel like Damn is more of the second album. It kind of, if that makes sense.
So
it definitely feels like it.
Okay.
But go on.
Okay. So to me, Good Kid, Mad City focus on Compton. Right?
Definitely.
To Pimp a Butterfly is basically a dude holed up in a hotel bathroom, so caught up with the pressures of fame that he's really to drink himself to kill himself. So I got housekeeping knocking on the door and all that, because all the skits kind of weave in together.
Yeah.
So basically, it's him in his own head thinking, "Dog, I don't know if I can handle this." And then you get to Damn, it peels back to the theology of it all. the religious aspect of it all, because the way Kendrick talks about God is a similar way to how Marvin Gaye may talk about love, or how Stevie Wonder makes easy love songs.
That's deep.
That is.
Because unlike, say, another rapper who may be knee deep in the faith and sounds preachy to you, Kendrick sounds like somebody as vulnerable and caught up in it to the point where he's like, look, man, I'm making mistakes out here. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I still get caught up in the same seamless sins that you do.
Time on, it's funny. He's on to something, because I felt that for the first time on this album. Like I told him, when I used to listen to rappers, I used to do this thing where I would literally rewind a nigga 100 times. Mm-hmm. You heard a verse, you rewind it. I never had that moment with Kendrick, to be honest. On the song is Triple X is the record, when he talking to his partner whose son just got killed, and he's saying, Kendrick, you're anointed. Give me some of that good advice, some of that, that godly shit that you on. Yeah. And Kendrick like, fuck that. If somebody killed my son, I'm going to kill that motherfucker. I rewound that verse like 100 fucking times. Yeah. Because it was the first time I had heard him feel, it felt like what you're describing. It felt more human. It felt less esoteric and more so like on some shit like, oh, he feels us. Yeah. Because I kid you not, To Pimp a Butterfly feels esoteric to niggas who are still in the streets. You know, like, it feels like a gospel record. You know how when you in the midst of the streets and somebody turns on a Shirley Caesar record, you like, man, turn this shit off. Yeah. Nobody really wants to say that, but that's how you feel when you in the mix. You like, man, turn this shit off. Yeah. Well, that's how To Pimp a Butterfly felt, because it's so esoteric. Yeah. This felt human. It felt vulnerable. It felt like a human being making a record for other human beings.
Now, besides your point of view, why do you feel like a good portion of other people turned on Kendrick when To Pimp a Butterfly came out? Because I feel like we're just in a generation where it's like, for example, a lot of people turned on Kendrick and ran to Cole. Was like what Cole did with 2014 Forest Hills Drive is what a lot of people close to me were like it's like he gave you, it's like medicine in the candy. Like he gave you doses of social realism.
Talking to other human beings. Yeah. It's not the why. Do you know when you like, it's like when you listen to It Was Written. When I first heard It Was Written, that shit wasn't dope to me because I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. It sounded like some great fucking smart monk writing street shit. You know what I mean? Like Nas just came out the clouds, blessed us with something, and went back. Well, that's what I think. The Kendrick shit was half and half, because you got some people who will herald it as, I saw some people say it's the blackest album they ever heard. And those niggas obviously never heard of Public Enemy. Yeah. But they say it was the blackest album they ever heard. Then you'll have niggas who say it's complete and utter garbage and I'm not fucking with him because of this one album. I never took either of those stances. I took the stance that, we got to get over this hump and I got to see what this one is about. Yeah. Right. I told you I just wanted him to be aggressive and stake his claim. I hate fence riders. In the Bible it says either you be hot or cold. If you lukewarm, I spit you out. I live by that. I can't fuck with fence riding. To me, To Pimp a Butterfly felt like fence riding. I think to a lot of other people, they just couldn't digest it. I think they couldn't unwrap. Some people's problem is that they honestly don't know what the fuck he talking about. Yeah. Like when you listen to Nas Taking in Blood, what is he talking about? Yeah. To a lot of niggas who aren't well read. I think Kendrick Lamar has that, and then he has a flow that doesn't lend itself to being easily palpable either. Because he doesn't rap like, I told you, I like for a nigga to say a bar and hold his nuts a little bit. Let me feel it. He's more, Kendrick is all over the place. Yeah. So I think that combined with the esoteric material is what threw half of the niggas off.
Okay, I feel that.
Because it was definitely half and half. It was a lot of niggas on his,
Yeah. Now, also, like, going back to what I said earlier about how we see differently on Kendrick a lot. I liked the Hardcore 4 a lot. Like, I thought it was dope. But what bothered me was the whole idea of telling rappers to stop tiptoeing around his name, and he chose not to say nobody's name. Like, for the past few weeks, everybody's been, is he talking about Big Sean? Is he talking about Drake? He should have just said it if you're going to say it. Like, I'm starting to feel like what Drake said, which is like, if it's really fuck everybody, say fuck everybody. If you really about it, say it. Like, you're gonna be on a song, say, stop tiptoeing around my name and not say who you're talking about. Like, that annoyed me. That really annoyed me.
It's funny Drake says that when Drake chooses low hanging fruit to actually punch at.
True. Very true.
See, Drake is very peculiar and very particular about who he goes after. I mean, he's run a Meek Mill beef into the ground now for like what, 2 projects in a row, almost. Like to a point where he uses his own mama's voicemail to say, "That's not nice. Let that boy alone. Let that boy be. Let that boy be." And then he I mean, I think what the beauty of subliminal dissing is, it leaves us to so much interpretation. Like, you could throw this in so many different ways. To me personally, I think every Kendrick line, whether it be from Control or The Hard Part 4, or any record where he feels like just getting on his shit and just talking, big, just hold your nut shit, is that everybody can get it. And if you feel a certain way, Hit Dog's gonna holler.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It could be about it could be about Big Sean, it could be about Drake, but point is that one track killed all your buzz for More Life. Like, you stopped worried about More Life because, like, oh shit, Kendrick coming.
Yeah,
it's almost like every time Kendrick records a verse, it's like Farmers in the Deli. It's like you think, oh shit, Omar coming.
My nigga.
Is that not true though?
It's definitely true.
I don't know if it's just me. I've heard other people agree with me on this. I'm never really into his singles until I hear the album. Humble was cool to me until I listened to the album, and now I bump Humble like a lot. Like, what did y'all think about Humble initially?
The night of, I bumped it.
I know you loved it initially.
Taco, nigga. I heard that shit. I said, "Whoa." I did. Like, when Kendrick holds his nuts, bruh, I love that Kendrick. Shea Butter Kendrick, I'm not the biggest fan of. But Compton Kendrick holding his nuts. When he was on the hood of that car, because I saw the video first. He was on the hood of that car, and he said, "My left stroke just went viral," and he hits the fucking golf ball. I said, "Oh, this is that shit. Like, this that nigga that I wanted to see that." So I was immediately into it. I told you I didn't think the Hard Part 4 was even the most phenomenal heart, but the fact that he was aggressive, I was like, oh, he finna get on their ass now.
Yeah. What did you think about Humble?
I thought Humble and The Hard Part 4 were like very cool records. Like, I didn't like Humble. If I was like, Humble was like, it's alright.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said it's alright because I was like, it's Kendrick talking his shit. Okay, cool. Like, nothing like, eye-opening, thought-provoking, nothing like that. Even though I still felt a type of way that everyone decided to ride 2 lines out the whole record as opposed to like taking the record for what it was. And I was like, okay, cool. So I think the beauty of Kendrick is that the singles, they don't necessarily fit just out in the open by themselves, but if you put them like in the context of the actual album itself, you get it. You're like, oh, okay. Because
that's typically why I start liking them when I hear the album.
Right.
Yeah. Also, too, with Humble, what made me really like it when I listened to the album, it was kind of the most upbeat track on the album. So the album kind of puts you in a vibe, a mode, and then Humble it gives you a jolt. I can
agree with that.
It gives you a jolt. So like I think that's what initially what made me like really get into it more.
I can agree with that. Definitely.
I say DNA. Either DNA or Loyalty.
I say Humble is way more upbeat than Loyalty.
And the reason why I say DNA or Loyalty is because you do realize like Loyalty is going to be like the record you hear at like
that's gonna be the next single.
You'll hear that at all the day parties.
That's gonna be the next
all
single.
the club spots.
Definitely.
But I mean like when I mean upbeat, I'm like it's the hypest track.
Oh, nah, DNA like the moment the drums kick and like the all that kick, I'm like, okay, it's over. It is a rap.
Loyalty is definitely gonna be the next single, and it's probably my favorite song on the album.
I got.
Loyalty is probably my favorite song on the album. Yeah. Now, what do you feel overall the album Damn is trying to say? What point is he trying to get across?
Man, that's a loaded question to add for an album that came out 48 hours ago.
I mean, this is literally like a first listen review. Like, we're definitely going to have to revisit this later on down the line, but off top initially, like, what is it that you feel this album is trying to say?
As I spoke towards earlier, this is an album from someone who is flawed and is attempting to try and visualize like if he's doing the right thing in the eyes of God. Like all them tracks, like whether it be like Fear, for example. Fear basically is this man listing the shit that got to him and putting kind of like, shook him up. 7, 17, 27. 27, it's being liked, appreciated as a musician, and hoping the tax man don't mess around. 17, you don't want to get nothing. You don't want to run to the wrong people, wrong crowd, nothing. 7, it's your parents because they are the biggest figures above you. Mm-hmm. You don't want to get your Jordans messed up. You want to break nobody's game, nothing. So by the time you get to Duckworth, it's a whole story in which he's telling you about Top Dog, who has sinned. Mm-hmm. And then you're talking about his dad from the Project of Chicago, who has also sinned. Mm-hmm. And they're both of those juxtapose with one another. Because without the sin of Top and the sin of his father, do you get Kenny now?
Nah.
Real shit.
Do you get like the idea of love and lust and being angry on Triple X over the fact that, somebody their son just got killed? Like, all these different emotions have jumped in with him, and then you have his cousin Carl kick in with Deuteronomy 28:28 in the different verses. The different Bible verses kind of just reel you in and kind of put you into this position of, where's my faith in all this? Like, the world is going mad around me. The president is trying to kill us all. Where do I fit in this? And obviously, I understand what my voice is now because I didn't understand what my voice was on To Pimp a Butterfly, but now I know what it is now here on Damn.
I definitely think he definitely found his voice.
Yeah, so that's why
sure.
you get like that raspy kind of high kick from Section 80 records like Rigor Mortis or High Power. Like that Kenny is back. And like the weird cartoony voices he did from Good Kid, Mad City, that's involved here too. Even though the funk aspect of it, the funk jazz acid explosion aspect of it from To Pimp a Butterfly has been scaled down into these grimy, really southern ass beats from Mike Will Made It.
Oh yeah,
and Soundwave and all that.
And I loved like when he did that little rendition of by
Element, yes,
that shit was fly.
And then the screwed and chopped element to close it out. I was like, okay, you have my full undivided attention.
Yes,
he
always
was
does.
Off the fucking chain.
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite record is on it?
Definitely Triple X. Just that one verse, like, cause to me he spoke to, like, to me it came across genuine. Like, that's why you noticed on Facebook I literally reposted the whole verse.
Yeah,
I said and typed up the whole verse rather than going to Rap Genius and just copying and pasting like I should have. But I typed up the whole verse because something about a nigga being honest enough to say like, yo, I'm trying to do better. I have religion. I have these things that hold me together, but I'm human like you. And when shit hits the fan, like that nigga said, ain't no black power when your baby's killed by a coward. Like that type of shit, that sense of fuck it. That's what I always wanted from Kendrick. I love my artist. I love for my artists to rub people the wrong way. Like, you know how excited I was when I read every fucking publication say that those Chappelle, I saw my feed saying this Chappelle shit is hilarious.
Yeah,
and I saw
the reviews were like,
dissing him. I love that because I knew I was gonna love it. If you make the establishment pissed off, typically it's because you're saying something real, or you're at least telling your truth.
Yeah, or
you know what I mean.
Or the wild part is like when he tells you he's a Hebrew Israelite. It's like, ooh.
Like some shit say it's friction.
Yeah.
And see, to me, hip hop, no matter how, like whether it's street or whatever, like it doesn't. To me, I like hip hop to be countercultural. I like it to have friction. Like if my grandmother can listen to it, it's not for me. I need it to be, because honestly, when you're saying shit that's real, you're always gonna piss off the previous people who didn't have certain information.
Right.
So I feel like when I heard Kendrick say shit like that, that's why Triple X stood out to me. I love Element because he talking that shit. Mm-hmm. Like saying he might slap the fuck out of a nigga and make it look sexy. Like that type of shit.
Yeah.
That shit. Mm-hmm. I hadn't heard that version of him in a long time. And I know, like you said, To Pimp a Butterfly was necessary for him.
Yeah.
And it was one of them things where I applaud any young nigga who trying to do something better for the culture. In a world of niggas who wear fucking Balenciagas and don't say shit about, culture, I appreciate him talking about culture. It just wasn't for me. I'm past that shit.
Right. It's very understandable. I think with Kendrick, and I think is why I love Kendrick a lot more than everybody else. I hate the idea of a conscious rapper. Yeah. I hate it so much.
The label of it, yeah.
I hate it so much because Gucci can tell you some real things about PTSD in the streets and trying to survive, even though it's the most fucked up thing in the world, right?
Real shit.
But you don't call him a conscious rapper. You just call him a trap rapper. Like, I hate J. Cole being called a conscious rapper, even though he is just as misogynistic as, say, Drake is, or not as misogynistic as Too Short, because that's a whole nother upper echelon.
That's another level.
That's another level. But you know what I'm saying? J. Cole is just as fallible as you and I are, because when you want people to be these things, these ideas that you have of them, it's what makes you end up falling out of favor with them so fast, so quick.
Definitely.
That goes for not just musicians. That goes for like anything. Like if you fall in love with the idea of somebody as opposed to the actual reality of who that person is, you're never gonna be happy with them.
Ever.
That's like I said this thing with this whole new shit where niggas are woke. You know, like you've got woke and you've got, when I grew up, you had niggas who were saved. You got niggas who are woke. It's always a past tense. When in reality, all of those things, to be any of those things, is a constant battle.
Yes.
It's not you can't do one thing and be woke. You can't read a book and be woke. Mm-hmm. You're constantly having to try to keep your third eye open.
Especially with the aspect of being saved. Like when you give your life to Christ, like that's a day-to-day battle of like constantly.
Legit. You don't all of a sudden, nigga, you get baptized and stop on the fucking hose.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
It makes it harder for you, actually.
It makes it where, what I've always said is, I like people for being a work in progress. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of, that's why one record not gonna necessarily send me out of favor. As much as I hated Kingdom Come, I still fucked with Jay, because I knew maybe after this he's trying to find his way. When artists are trying things, you gotta give them leeway to fuck up.
And then he came back with a top 5 album of his.
Hell yeah,
American Gangster's in his top 5 greatest albums.
It wouldn't be here without Kingdom Come though.
Top 5 in his top 5 best albums. American Gangster is clearly
definitely
right.
But you can't get it without Kingdom Come.
No, you can't,
because you have to work your way through the kinks. So I feel like this rendition of Kendrick is both Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly. He's conscious, but he's also in the streets. He's still on the ground, and I like that idea because in reality, bro, none of us, like you said, infallible. None of us are infallible. I feel like this was that album where he kind of was saying like, nigga, I'm trying. But I'm still a fucking human.
Right.
Like, it's still gonna be some, like, the whole record on Be Humble, like, you know, like, Be Humble is the whole context of the record.
Right.
But the entire record is him bragging.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like,
and the irony of it is that a record before that, he's telling you, like, look, just because you want me to turn my light down don't mean I ain't gonna stop.
Man, my nigga said they want me to be humble because I'm not gonna be humble because you insecure.
Yes.
See, that's the thing, though. It's the balance. Like, I think that nigga legit musically is his story. You know, I've said every artist has a story.
Yeah.
I think Kendrick's story is balanced, though.
Right. It's
trying to find balance and trying to be pro-black and be worldly. Trying to be, godly and still be human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think his whole story, by the end of his career, how we say Jay-Z's story was the American dream, I think his is balance.
Right.
It's trying to be black and have balance.
All right.